Let's come back to the last clip of the fern lecture this week. So we have one more group of fern to talk about, which is a group of fern that produce heterospore. So again, the word heterospore meaning produce two type of spores. So why two type of spores? I mean, in the sporophyte, right, instead of producing just one type of sporangium, they produce two type of sporangium: the mega sporangium, the big one, and the micro sporangium, the small one. And the mega sporangium, the big one, will produce megaspore. The megaspore, the big spore, will germinate into the female gametophyte, which produce exclusively the archegonium, which produce egg. And then the microsporophyte will produce the microspore on different plants. And the microspore will germinate into the male gametophyte, which produce only enteridium and produce sperm. And sperm egg germinate fertilize again to produce a zygote. So this usually happen on a separate plants. That's why we call it heterospores. And this happen to all aquatic ferns. So all the heterosporous ferns are aquatic ferns. So we're gonna ask you to just recognize them. And there's three groups that I want you to recognize and know their name. The first one is called Marsilia crenata or pakwan, and this look like a clover. Plants have four leaves, characteristic four leaf, and the stalk. Very simple. And you know it is a fern because if you look kind of closely, there's a succinate variation here, right here. Look at that. It's like hiding somewhere. And they produce a spore, not on soras, because in the water, they produce in the structure called sporocarp, which is right at the bottom of the plant here. So at the base of this plant, we produce a sporocarp, and this is one sporocarp look like. It's look kind of like insect type thing. So this is the sporocarp. So it's encasing in this shell, and if you look inside, it's like a bunch of like ugly egg, like insect egg like things. Ew. But it's actually the sporangiums have both microsporangium and megasporangium. The big one is a megasporangium, and the small one is microsporangium, and they all encased in the indusium, and each one of them is called sorus, just like on the typical fern leaf. So you look back here again, you can see the megasporangium and the microsporangium right on that same sorus. So this is one sorus. Okay, but everything is enclosing in just one structure, and this is called Marsilia crenata or pakwan. And the second one you want to know is called Azolla pinnata or Naedang in Thai. This one look a bit not like fern, is look more like a duckweed or napet if you're familiar with them. It's very common in the water source, and this look very red, but it's only go red when it's exposed to the sun, so it's super red in the sun. So this is a solar, and on that same pond, if you see another greenish green plant, this is a duckweed or napet in Thai. So this is duckweed. So it's grow together, but this is the duckweed is the flowering plants. Azolla is the fern. So the reason we know it's a fern because it produces spore, and inside the Azolla have interesting structures. So they have a cavity. It's like empty hole inside the leaf of Azolla, and inside of the leaf you see a bunch of smaller organisms here. This is the cyanobacterium called Anabina azolla. So this thing here is called Anabina azolla, which is a cyanobacteria that can fix nitrogen to help plants get more nitrogen from the environment. So this is a symbiosis, the living together of the Azolla pinnata plants and the cyanobacteria called Anabina azolla in the same leaves. And we're going to talk about this in a bit, how the people use this to their advantage. And finally, this is Salvinia genus. This multiple species. So in Thai called Chok Loi Nam. And this is a very simple looking fern. Basically, they have two leaves floating. They have like a hair-like structure. It looks super hairy. It had this like egg beater uh, hair. So if you don't know what egg beater is, go in the kitchen and people who bake. It's like there's like the structure that you use to beat the egg so that it like get fluffy. So it looks like that. I'll show you a picture in the lab part as well. So the egg beater help them float, and then the third leaf going down, and they produce the sporocarp just like what you see in Mercelia crenata. So that's three genera of the aquatic fern that we want you to recognize and know them in the field. So this part is just recognize these are aquatic ferns and they are heterosporous. So what are the use of fern? You probably have seen multiple ferns like in the garden. It's like a hugely popular in the ornamental scenes. They're used for decorations, and they even fern expo because they look pretty, have good nice green leaf, and they're easy to take care of. You can also eat them, so that succinate leaf, the young part, people cut them off and like stir fry them and like deep fry them, so put them in the salad, so it's edible as a food. But usually almost a lot of species are edible, but I don't think people eat all the species of fern. And in agriculture, because Azolla house this cyanobacteria, remember this is Anabina. Anabina helps fix nitrogen. So in the body of Azolla fern, they have a lot of nitrogen. So people usually put them in the rice field or mix it with animal feed as the additional nutrients for animal or plants. So, and another example of like not the use but the misuse of the fern is that some fern like this big Salvinia molesta is, if once they spread into the habitat like in the water in Thailand, they spread like crazy. So this one actually is a forbidden plant. So actually if you house them or you grow them, you can actually be put in jail for spreading this invasive species, because you see for the name it's molesta, like it's molesting other plants. It's cover the area quite quickly because it's huge and it's have that hair. So I'm gonna show you the sample of the lab. We have some sample for educational purpose, not to do anything bad with them. So that's the use of fern, and that's it for this week. So what do you want from you? We need to recognize different group of ferns and the characteristic and the spores and how the spore grow into gametophyte and the sexual structure within them. So that's it, a wrap for this week.